a scholar in this height in our midst. I would say it is a multi-dimensional faculties. Whoever I told that Professor Ramasubramanian ji is coming to deliver the talk, and they went to the website and internet to find, everyone said wow, by seeing the background of the scholar in this height. So our distinguished guest speaker this evening, Professor R. Subramanian. Professor R. Subramanian is the Institute Chair Professor at the Cell for Indian Science and Technology in Sanskrit in IIT, Bombay. He is highly reputed as a historian of Indian science in mathematics and astronomy. A Sanskrit scholar, a Vedic teacher, and an Indian philosopher. He is widely acclaimed for his research on the riches of India's scientific heritage and his contributions in preserving this rich heritage. He holds a doctorate degree in theoretical physics, a master's in Sanskrit, and a bachelor's in engineering. Professor Ramasubramanian has earned several honors awards, including Maharshi Badarayana Vyasa Saman by President of India and Vidvat Pravara by Shankaracharya of Sringeri Sharadapitham for demonstrating his mastery in Advaita Vedanta. He has also published several articles and books. It is truly an honor to welcome Professor R. Subramanian to San Jose House of Vedanta Society, Berkeley. We look forward to his talk on getting away from insomnia by getting on to Vedanta. I request Professor Ramasubramanian to start his. By the time I would request you to just turn off your mobile phone.
So, Namaste. It's a great privilege and honor to be in this Vedanta society,
Recording.
in this nation. And thanks for the very kind words which has been uttered by Revered Swamiji. I offer my pranams to Swamiji and other devotees here, and then I will get on to the topic of my presentation. This talk is based on one verse which I found in a text called Viduraniti. This Viduraniti is a part of the big epic Mahabharata. So the problem of insomnia is something which has been there, I think, as long as the humankind has been there. So here the question of Dhritarashtra to Vidura, saying that he is suffering from this and how do I overcome. So for that, Vidura presents a few reasons as to why there could be insomnia in you. So that's where we will start our talk with. So where do we find the earliest reference of insomnia in the scriptures that are there? I will take you through that, and some of the signs that we find and symptoms of insomnia, the causes and the treatments that we present today. Then I will take you through one interesting quotation of Swami Vivekananda which I saw. It was very, very inspiring. So I will come to that. Then I will introduce a bit of Vidura and Viduraniti, then the 5 reasons that have been spelled out in single verse, then a few other things. The name that we have in Sanskrit for referring to insomnia is Prajagara. Prajagara. How do we understand this? So, Prakarshena, we have 3 avasthas, right? Jagrata avastha, Swapna avastha, Sushupti avastha, and Jagara basically refers to the state of remaining awake. So Prakarshena means excessively he remains in the state of Jagara avastha, and therefore we have the term Prajagara which has been employed. And Prajagara, just now I came from a Samskrita Bharati Shibira where I was delivering a few lectures on Shukanasopadesha. And the Shukanasopadesha is a part of a text which is called Kadambari. An amazing poet called Banabhatta has written that. There also you find the word Prajagara being employed, and he says the Guru Upadesha will enable you to get rid of Prajagara. And then No Dvegakara Prajagara is the word that is being employed there. So we find this word so commonly occurring in various literatures. And if you go back to the earliest literature, so we have this Agni Purana referring to Devatanam Pitrinanche Ghoram Krutva Prajagaram Treta Yuge Chaturthamshe, and so on and so forth. Okay? Ghoram Krutva Prajagaram is what he says. So when there is something which is really alarming, then I think the mind doesn't settle. So whether it is something which has to do with the family or the institutional or the societal level, then the mind does not rest. So that is what he is trying to say. Ghoram Krutva Prajagaram. Not only for, so it refers to basically some Rakshasa. So he not only created that kind of a turmoil in this world, but in other worlds also. So that is where the word comes. And we have this Vishnu Sahasranama, if some of you are chanting it, you find the word Prajagara there also. Adhar Nilayo Dhata Pushpahasaf Prajajaraha. So there Vishnu is described as Prajagara. So how? It is one of the names of Vishnu. Right? So how do we understand Vishnu referred by the word Prajagara? So Prakarshena Jagaranam is the meaning. So as I told you. So you remain excessively in this state where the mind does not go into rest. So when it comes to Vishnu, so the derivation is Nitya Buddha Swarupatvat. So this is how we can understand. So he is an ever enlightened person, and therefore we use the word Prajagara to refer to him. Now this is very quickly recapitulating. The signs are very simple. So difficulty in falling asleep, this can be one state. The second thing could be waking up during the night. Some people have this problem. And being unable to return to sleep, this is a third kind of a problem. Okay. So this is what we see. In fact, there is an interesting verse. So I have heard this phrase, many of you would have also heard. Ekaswaduna bhunjitha. Have you heard? Ekaswaduna bhunjitha means if something is very tasty, you should not eat alone. This is what my grandfather, as I was a school boy, after my Upanayana, around 45 years ago, so 50 years ago, he was just saying, so he gave me, after drinking some milk in the night, so he gave me a little bit. Then I said, no, I don't want. Then he was quoting this Ekaswadana Bhunjitha. It got registered in my mind and later after several years. So there it is said, Ekaswadana Bhunjitha, Ekascharthan Nachintayetu, Ekona Gache Dadhvanam, Naikas Supteshu Jagriyat. When all others are sleeping, you should not remain awake. This is the fourth quarter of the verse. Okay. So anyway, so that is just for fun, I am just saying. Now, you are unable to sleep, what do you do? Okay. So this is what we have a problem. And there is a large section of population which is undergoing this problem. So then what are the effects of it? Lack of concentration, daytime sleepiness, irritability. Okay. Irritability, swayam, hanyan. So this is really a complicated issue. So tiredness, it does not confine to oneself, right? So tiredness, low energy, anxiety, depressed mood, clinical depression, etc., etc. Now the causes, as people say, is the psychological stress. So this could be either an effect of what is not being digested by you at your mind level, or it could also be sometimes due to external pain that we have. One is physical, the other is psychological. When it comes to physical, you undergo some operation, etc., etc., then you are not able to sleep. This is one kind of a problem. Okay. So chronic pain, heart failure, and for some people they also say menopause and medications. Sometimes medications also have this effect. So the treatment that are being recommended is improving the surrounding and the behavioral patterns, a consistent bedtime. We have this in Bhagavad Gita, Yukta Hara Viharasya, Yukta Cheshtasya Karmasu, Yukta Swapnava Bodhasya, Yogo Bhavati Dukhaha. This is what we have in Bhagavad Gita. So Yukta Hara Viharaha. So whether it is Ahara or Vihara, okay. Yukta Hara Viharasya, Yukta Cheshtasya Karmasu. So there are certain norms which are being prescribed, and if you follow a certain discipline, then I think everything will be fine. Yukta Swapna Avabodhasya. This is also stated. Okay. You have to sleep for a certain period of time and you have to wake up. So it's not like 8 hours, 9 hours, 10 hours as I like, and Sunday I may not even get up. See, I'm not joking. Somewhere I went to London 2-3 months back. So then there was supposed to be some meeting. Somebody said that a scholar has come, why don't you come, etc. So she was calling at 11 o'clock in the morning. And the girl said, I'm yet to wake up. See, so this is what she was just saying, no, it will not be. Say, come at 1 o'clock, no, it will not. Anyway, so Yukta Swapnava Bodhasya means you sleep, okay. Avabodha is getting up. Yogo Bhavati Dukhaha. That is what Bhagavad Gita says. Now, so the other thing that are being generally recommended is to have a dark room, exposure to sunlight and so on and so forth. All these are certain prescriptions which are being given by various people at various levels. And so the other problem, other approach is, this is trying to deal with one's own physical body and the immediate environment around it, right? So if all of them are satisfied, still you are not able to do, then you have to do a slightly different kind of a treatment. That's what they say, cognitive therapy, and logically how to approach emotions, how to handle them and so on. And if both of them do not work, then people resort to. My brother's, cousin brother's wife, he takes too much of the sleeping pills, he keeps he keeps telling, so she does not listen to anybody. Okay, this is the third level. Okay. So this is what is being done. But are there other alternatives by which we will be able to handle? So this is what we have to see. Okay. Now the context in which I wanted to bring this verse is this Vidura. This Vidura is a character in Mahabharata. So Vidura is son of Vyasa, but the younger brother of Dhritarashtra and Pandu. So this is how the story is. And he is described as the wisest person. Okay? So wisest person in the Mahabharata, everyone accepts Vidura as the wisest person. So if you read Viduraniti, then you will understand the kind of wisdom that he has acquired and he is able to transfer it very effectively. The verse which I quoted, Ekasvadana Pinjita, is also like this. There are so many interesting verses there. And Viduraniti comes in the context of Dhritarashtra inviting Vidura. So his younger brother Dhritarashtra was the king. So he invites Vidura saying that I am undergoing a certain problem, you please summon Vidura. So Vidura immediately comes and that's where the Viduraniti arises, and it is in Buddhyoga Parva of Mahabharata. How does it start with? So Dhritarashtra says, Sanjayo Vidura Praptaha Garahitva Chamangataha Ajata Shatroho Shvovakyam Sabha Madhye Savakshiyati. This is what he says. This Sanjaya was sent as a messenger, okay, to avoid this. So he has come back, and then he says, Garhayitva Chamangataha. Sanjaya scolded me and then went. Okay, this is what he says. Garhayitva Chamangataha. And he also left a certain suspense with me. So I basically wanted to gain from him what was the message that was passed on by Yudhishthira and tell me. But he said, no, I will not tell you now, I will tell you only tomorrow in this assembly. This is what he says. See, Ajata Shatroho Shvo Vakyam Sabha Madhye. So now he says, this statement that he has made has put me in great suspense and I am unable to digest and I am completely restless now. So my heart is burning, that's what he says. Tanme dahati gatrani tadakarshi prajaga. Okay, that has created prajagara in me. So this is what Dhritarashtra admits. Okay. And he says, see, this word chinta is a very interesting thing. So have you heard the word chita? What is chita?
Fire.
Fire.
Which fire? Funeral fire. See, chita is the place where this body, after the life separates, is put. Okay, that is what is called chita. Now, regarding this chinta, so he essentially says this. Essentially, chinta, the mind becomes restless. So there is a certain thought which keeps on, okay, really disturbing you all the time. So that's what makes it sleepless. So how do we suppress this thought? Okay, so this is where the issue is. Now, Sarvendriyani aprakratim gatani kim vakshyati evam he chinta is what he says. So there is an interesting verse which I have heard long back. So somebody said, what is the difference between chita and chinta? There is one anuswara among the words. So he says, chita chinta tayor madhye chinta nama gariyasi. Why? Just because there is a drop? No. Chita dahati nirjeevam chinta pranayutam vapu. Chita only burns a dead body, whereas chinta burns as we are alive. Chita dahati nirjeevam chinta pranayutam vapu. Okay, so this is chinta is more powerful. Now, this is a quote which I really liked when I read it some time back from Vivekananda. So looking at the kind of literature that has been produced by Indians. So Vivekananda, of course, he was just saying that he is giving a series of talks on his inspiring talks. Okay. So if you see some of them, he says, if there is one word in English language to represent the gift of India to the world, If there is one word in English language to express the effect which the literature of India produces upon mankind, it is this one word, fascination. So which basically means many of us are not even aware of, even including myself. So though I hail from a certain family where I knew a little bit of Veda, Vedanta, etc., my understanding of the literature in Sanskrit was very, very limited. We have Puranas, we have Bhagavata, we have something, this is all I knew. But then if you look into the amount of knowledge that has been produced, and this even Swamiji before coming here, so he was asking certain interesting questions. So how do we understand the kind of a thing? So this really brings in a certain fascination, and the amount of deep thinking that has gone on various aspects of life is something which is really astounding. So it is for this reason, so Vivekananda says, the word is fascination. Okay? If you just peep into the literature, I am just saying. But for peeping into the literature, we need a pipe to see, we need a vision, and that is provided only through Sanskrit language. Okay, anyway, I am just saying, if you want to really enjoy the original thing. See, otherwise, I mean, you can read certain things and that doesn't really help. Whether it is a Bengali song or a Malayalam song, if you know that language, you will be able to enjoy it far better. Now, what Vivekananda says is, it is the opposite of anything that takes you suddenly, it throws on you, as it were. Okay? To many Indians, this is what was very interesting. He has observed, to many Indian thought, Indian manners, Indian customs, Indian philosophy, Indian literature are repulsive at the first sight. So Swamiji was saying the Berkeley students do not take interest in this. Somehow, I mean, for what reason we don't know. So there is no attraction towards that. On the other hand, there is attraction for rock music, all that kind of a thing. Okay, thousands of people gather. So repulsive at the first sight. But then the message that Swamiji says is, let them persevere, let them read, let them become familiar with the great principles, and he says 99 to 1 that the charm will come over and the result will be fascination. Okay. So, now this is what really fascinates me also, even in terms of not necessarily the philosophy. Obviously nothing can beat, okay, in the world. So regarding the philosophy that we have, even in other fields, I am just saying, take it aesthetics, take it art, take it music. So if you just see the phenomenal work that has been done centuries ago is something which is really astounding and fascinating, about which we have absolutely no clue whatsoever. Now let us come to this question which was posed by Vidura to Dhritarashtra. So Vidura was summoned, he came, Dhritarashtra told what his state is, I am suffering from Prajagara, so tell me what to do. This is what he said. Now the question that Vidura poses to him is this one single verse. Abhiyuktam balavata durbalam hina sadhanam kritasvam kaminam choram avishanti prajagaraha. This is what he said. He lists 5 things here. It is very simple to understand. Abhiyukta basically means someone who is suppressing, attacking you, etc. So, balavata abhiyuktam is the question. See, you are attacked or suppressed by someone, okay, someone is assailing you, who is mightier than you. So, then what do you do? Okay. Abhiyuktam balavata, this is one reason. Durbalam hina sadhanam, in fact, I saw somebody, even this trip, he wanted to participate in some event, but then, so some project has come, I cannot just leave, I saw whole night working and even now working. So this, if I just talk, that is all finished. Okay. So we will not be able to take. Okay. So sometimes it just happens. Okay. Balavata abhiyuktam, durbalam hina sadhanam. So this is another aspect. So even if it is a person, if you have a certain kind of a courage to handle certain things and handle that, you will be able to maneuver. Okay. But that is not there with you. Okay. Durbalam. And you also do not have a support. So there are some people who will not obey rules. But then, so when you ask them, so they will say that I know this person, I know that person. So there is a sadhana with which they can escape. So then this is also not there. hina sadhanam, hritaswam. This is the most common thing. I'll tell you one instance. He was in Singapore, he was in various other places. And then I met him about 12 years back. He was such a cheerful and wonderful person. And after 4 or 5 years, I just went to Chennai once again. On some occasion, I could not see his face. So it was such a pathetic look that I found in him. And I asked him, what happened to you? So he just told the story, and then he said, basically, all my earnings I had in Arabia and I had in Singapore, I just invested in one place. And then, now it is doubtful whether I will get it or not. Okay, that completely finished him. Okay, this is what one calls as Hrita Swam. Swam means there is a certain possession that you have, or you have a possessive attitude towards something, and if that is gone, then it finishes you. This is another source for, that's why he could not sleep, he has become such a frail person and all stages is gone. Okay, this is the other process. Then Kaminam means someone who is really craving for something. So this was an instance, I'll tell you. So there came a lady who had a very somewhat disturbed look after I gave some lecture in a temple. So they just met me when I was coming out. And then that person introduced to that lady and then said, "Sir, I want you to listen to her for 5 minutes." I said, "Okay," I just was listening to her. She said, "I have a request to you." I said, "What?" She said, "I am about to retire in 2 months, but then my colleague has got extension for 2 years and I did not get, so this makes me sleepless and I want somehow to get this." And I said, "How do I do? What can I do about it?" So this may be based on various factors, performance, this, that. No, she is performing much poorer than me. Somehow she has been given, I have to get it. I said, "What do I do for that?" "No, you have to pray for me and you have to get it for me." Okay? I said, this kind of prayers, I don't think it is possible for me. This is all just karma phala, this is how I take. And you should also take it that way only. So if it comes, it is well and good, I mean you have something. And if it does not come, it is much better, this is what you have to think. You can get into some spiritual things, you can read. After all, it is retirement age, you should. No, it is not possible. I'm not joking, no exaggeration. He said, no. Then I was trying to explain in various ways. See that, this is some, you may be performing better, even then there are various other factors, unknown things. That is what we call Daivam. See, in Bhagavad Gita also we have, no? It's not that even the stock fellows, I mean, who invest, it's not that the other fellow is less brilliant than you. Okay, everywhere, I mean, there is something called a factor of luck which comes, which is what we call as Daivam. Adhishthanam tatha karta karanam cha prathak vidham vividhasya prathak cheshtaha daivam chaivatra panchamam. This is what Bhagavad Gita says. No, nothing. She was insistent. Then her husband hinted me, "No, you should say that I will pray, you will get, then only you can be relieved." I mean, he frankly said this. Then I said, "Okay, anyway, I will try to do something. So my prarthanas are with you." I just left. Why am I saying this? This kaminam. So this is a craving for something that I have to get this. This finishes quite a number of people I have seen. Okay, just because some promotion does not come or you are not extended, they are not able to take it. So this is another source for prajagana. Then he says choram. Okay, that anyway we don't need to say. So okay, now this swam we have to understand. See, the swam when we say, so the swam can refer to several things in Sanskrit. Swam means dhanam. If you go to mathematical texts, swam means plus. Rinam means subtraction. So dhanam is anyway something which is acquired by you and therefore they call it as swam. Okay, swam rinam kuryat means you have to do plus and minus. Okay, so this is how it is. Swam also means atma. Okay, swam can also mean, see, Jnati, who is sort of related to you in lineage. Swam can also mean Atmiya. There are several senses in which you But as far as this Hritaswam is concerned, so this is basically dhanam, let us take, okay, something which is possessed by you. And in fact, the possession can be extended to your children, your house, your car, there are various other things. So, atmiya, okay, there are various sense in which you can have. Now, he further says, Vidura, kachidetayir mahadoshaihi nasprishtosi naradhipa kachinna paravitteshu gridhyan viparitapyase. He further adds, I only suppose. The word, see, you know the difference between kachit. Kachit means, so you find one entire sarga in Valmiki Ramayana, which is called kachit sarga. So kachit has a different meaning than normally kaha, etc. So there, kama pravedani, kachit kama pravedani. So when you use the word kachit, it signifies asking you whether it is working with you, but with the intention that it has to work with you. Okay? So that is where the difference between kachit comes. Here, kachinna paravitteshu gridhyan viparitapyase. So he says, I hope, okay? So I hope that you are not suffering from the greed. Okay? We have this word, no? Magridha kasyas vidhanam. The first mantra of Ishavasya Upanishad. In fact, Mahatma Gandhi in one place, he says, so this for one mantra of Ishavasya Upanishad is sufficient. Okay? First mantra. Ishavasya vidagga sarvam yatkincha jagatyan jagat tena tyaktena punjitha magridha kasyas vidhanam. So that is where we have the word gridha also comes. Now, after saying this, so Dhritarashtra says, Shotamicchami te dharmyam param naishreyasam vajaha asmin rajarshi vamshehi tvamekaha prajna sattamaha. In this entire lineage, you are the only person who is considered wise by everybody. Tvamekaha rajya. Now, how do we look at this? First thing that he says is, Abhiyuktam balavataha, right? So Dhritarashtra has become sort of restless. Okay, so this is what he described. Why? Because he is aware of the strengths of Pandava and the kind of association that they have. Right? Balavata abhiyuktam means, so this is something which is there in his mind. So fighting against Pandava is reckless and it is going to be a sahasam karma. Okay? Sahasam karma essentially means a karma which you engage with without really understanding the consequences of it. Okay? This is what is called sahasam karma. So this is one thing which sort of bothers him. This is with respect to Dhritarashtra, abhiyuktam balavata. In general, suppose we just see, so many people who are sort of powerful and capable and a cute person, so this loss or damage, if you just fight with him, so then it is going to be inevitable, okay, in your side. And if you fight, okay, so whether I will be able to sort of win in this war or not, so that anxiety and fear, so that causes insomnia in some people. And suppose you just get defeated, then also regret, shame, sorrow, etc. that finishes some people. So this is what happens, okay, when you deal with such a situation. Now, see the shame, this is another interesting thing. So one way which is made, you know this Ramayana story, right? So this Ramayana story, Kaikeyi was so affectionate to Rama, right? So as Kausalya was, so too Kaikeyi was. But then, what happened was, somehow Manthara was able to change her mind. What was the strategy that was adopted? Very simple strategy. There was only this Abhiyuktam Balavata, I will tell you. How? Because she said that once Rama becomes the king, then Kausalya will be the powerful person. then you will become subservient to Kausalya, and this is not something which is acceptable by you, and therefore you should not allow this to happen. Okay? The subservience is something which is what really triggered her, and then this is what you can very easily see. So if that was the situation, then among them anyway there will be a problem. Okay? So therefore she said, so this has been very beautifully conveyed through a certain poet. See, Laghutvam Nayati. Okay, how many of you will be able to follow this Sanskrit? All of you? You can read? No? Okay. Okay. So then maybe I just sort of skip this verse. This is a very interesting verse. Now, this Abhiyuktam Balavata, you can find several examples. So this, out of this recklessness, if you get into that, then Ravana, you can see. So this is the cause in Ramayana. Consequence of the acts of injustice and cruelty, see, invites his own death. Okay, so ruined himself. Triggered this. In Kenopanishad we have this. Okay, so this Yaksha in Kenopanishad, if you see, so the Yaksha comes in some form, and then these people, see, so they felt that Indra, Vayu and so on. So they went and then said, I am so and so, I have this power and so and so and so on and so forth. Then actually that sort of finished them. Okay, so Yaksha. Now Vedanta, so how do we see this? Under this situation, how do we take this? This is what we need to learn. So here, this Abhiyuktam Balavata is a certain situation where we need to really understand. This is a very, very important philosophy that has been laid down by people. And you find this, the moment you are able to embrace this philosophy, then your dealings will completely change. Rama, in one place, he says, when he was undergoing suffering from one to the other, see, Rajya Pranashaha, Swajanair Vyogaha, Sita Vinashaha, and so on continuously happens. Now at that stage, Rama says, Manye maya nunam abhipsitani papani karmanya sakrit kritani tasyaya madhya patito vipakaha dukhe na dukham yadaham vishami. Even if you take this, so abhiyuktam balavata, even if you are sort of suppressed, okay, just take the situation where you are not able to handle. Then the way you can take that situation is, this is something which is very unique to our Hindu philosophy, but it is very, very practical and pragmatic. So Rama did not blame Kaikeyi for a moment at any point of time. So he only says, all this is happening because of Kaikeyi. So this is what we will say, right? But he never said this. He said, Manye maya nunam abhipsitani papani karmani yasakrit kritani. Okay? This is a larger understanding that I have perhaps done a lot of papa in my Purva Janma, and that is what seems to have started yielding fruit for me right now. See, in this Janma I have not done anything. Manye maya nunam abhipsitani papani karmani yasakrit kritani tasya adya apatitau vipakaha. The fruit of that is something which is being experienced by me. Tasyaya madhya patito vipakaha dukhena dukham yadaham vishami. What is this based on? This is what we have in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Punyo vai punyena karmana bhavati papah papena. So this, if you just see many of these books, they will always say somewhere the notion of luck. Now for you to work with some nice boss, for you to work with someone who is always going to ill-treat you, etc. These are not in our hands. The ability is something which we have. But under those situations, if you just bother too much yourself and then keep on cursing him in your own mind, then that is not going to help you in any situation. So So the only way by which you will be able to look at this can be with respect to relation among family members also. So then this is the way which you will be able to see. So I am Balavata Abhiyukta, but maybe this is what something which I have to sort of experience. Okay. So this is a very large philosophical thing we need to keep in mind. So it is not a question of having some blind faith and so on and so forth. What will work for you? Okay. So this is something. And the other thing that we need to have is, see, Agama Payino Nityaha Tam Stitikshasva Bharata. This is something which is going to be there for a few days. In fact, if you look at little more deeply, all associations will end with dissociation. Okay? Wherever it is. Okay? It can be with family members, it can be other friends, it can be institution, it can be a place, it can be with car, it can be anything. Any association that you have will end with dissociation. It's a larger thing that we should first of all do. And this understanding of Vedanta helps you in understanding that this Sharira that you have is also in a simple association. Understand? So there is a Chaitanya which is different from this, and this Chaitanya getting associated with this physical body, and it is going to be dissociated. Birth means essentially this. Birth is association of Chaitanya with a physical Sharira, and death is dissociation of the Chaitanya with the physical Sharira. And this can occupy into any form of Sharira. That is what our larger understanding is. You can be born as a mosquito, you can be born as an elephant in South Africa, or you can be born as a good dog here, so that you can peep through BMW car. In fact, one of the fellows was joking to me, saying that if I want to have next Janma, I should be born as a dog in US. So that I can enjoy. Anyway, this is a joke. So the point I am saying is, see, punyo vai punyena karmana bhavati papah papena. This is a beautiful thing in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Okay? So if you are lucky, then it is not that you are a much better thinker. So this is something which we need to understand. Okay? This can happen in various situations. So this is how we have to understand. Then the next is Durbalam Hina Sadhanam. The second aspect is that Durbalam Hina Sadhanam is what he says. In the context of Dhritarashtra, let us understand why he said this. So this physical disability Dhritarashtra has, okay, and this physical disability also feeds into mental disability. There is a loop between that. So you may be a nice person, but when it comes to a certain physical disability, then it actually feeds back and then it loops. So as far as this fellow is concerned, particularly in this situation, so he became thoroughly confused and desperate. So then also this kind of a feeling in general many of us have. I am lonely, I am miserable, I am dependent, I am victimized, I am exploited, etc. All these feelings are also there. So I will tell you one person who was deeply interested in Indian culture, Sanskrit, etc. She is an Italian. So 30 years back, I remember I taught her a little bit of Sanskrit. And she was so excited reading some of these verses from Bhagavad Gita. Very bright. She is a very fantastic designer. She also learned a little bit from my father and so on. But then, now, just 10 days back or so, she called me. And then it was very difficult for me to listen to her voice. She said, see, I have become lonely. I am miserable. Then I said, why? I told her 5 years back, she was saying, I want to come to India. I said, you sell your house, come to India. So I had visited her house also. But then when I said this in Italy, he said, no. I have spent enormous amount of time in designing this house. Okay? So now my mind does not allow me to leave this. So this is what she said. Now this is something where we get trapped now. So this Atmiyatvam, okay? So that's where I want to tell you that we need to have a larger understanding which is so firmly rooted which can be covered temporarily by certain other things. But once we have this, that this entire body and the self, okay, this dissociation, okay, is what is death and association is what is birth. So if we have this, then all other associations are secondary. Ultimate association is what we want. See, when it is pranatyaga, so we want, that is the greatest bhaya that everybody has, right? Greatest, so some people will say that, no, I want to just leave. Suppose the house is under fire, will he be sitting inside? I want to leave, I mean you will leave if you are sitting inside. That is not possible. So the most difficult dissociation is this body and the self. Okay, we need to understand. So this is a very, very deep philosophy that we are able to present in Vedanta. Now this Durbala is a certain feeling. So why I said this was, now I have become Durbala, I had this operation and may have to undergo certain operation, I am so lonely, nobody is there with me, etc., etc. She was just lamenting over the phone. Natural situation which everybody undergoes this, then we have to be very, very considerate and as politely as possible and as consoling as possible, we have to respond. Now the other problem is, this Durbalam Hina Sadhanam happens, it leads to inferiority complex which actually gets into various other things. Okay? Once you develop this, I mean it is just a loop, I mean you just come back into that, you will not be able to escape. Okay, you are under tremendous pressure, stress and so on. So there are many occasions, okay, where people become helpless, a lack of health, youth, okay. This lack of health means, I mean I am getting, okay, old, that is another problem. Then financial support, education, powers, etc. There are various things. Then loss of dear ones is also something which is very, very difficult to take, okay. And this Abhiyuktam Balavata and Durbalam Hina Sadhanam can also be connected. So I will just leave that, okay. Now let us move on to the next thing. How does Vedanta help you in trying to handle this situation particularly? Okay. So I am Durbala, I am miserable, I am Hina Sadhana, I am helpless, so I cannot do anything on my own. So others are also not listening to me. Okay, there are various kinds of issues. Now, under that, Vedanta actually really helpful, I am just telling you. Whether it is some simple helplessness or it is lack of health also, if you are deeply into it, then if you are able to, see, this is not very difficult for us to even conceive of. I tell you, if you just think a little bit, so whether the notion of I that you carry with you should be associated with Sharira, with the kind of mind, with the kind of Indriyas, etc., or you should be able to separate it out. Logically thinking, so this Sharira, when it is born, it may be some 3 pounds, it may be 3 pounds. And you have certain charm, and then I mean after that is gone, but this I notion is Anisyuta. Does the I change? Whether you are at 8, whether you are at 28 or you are at 88. The I is one and the same. And therefore the locus of I has to be different from the Sharira, obviously. You were not blind before, now you would describe yourself as a blind person. So I am blind, I am not blind, etc. I am. So this notion of locus of I has to be separated out from all the mind, body, sense complex. This is evident to us. But this does not happen in reality. So we somehow get associated too much with that, and any other thing that you have is only going to be connected with this. Okay. So your house, so your various other things, etc., etc. Now Vedanta tells you that this I is something which is not limited by any place. Okay, it continues and then it will continue in some other form. Then you will take some other janma and so on and so forth. This will be sort of, so this you have to separate it out. Now when you say Durbala, it has to do with the Sharira. It has nothing to do with I. Okay, the locus of I. So that is where this helps. I am small, I am incomplete, I am incompetent, etc. It has to do either with the physical body or it has to do with your own mind. So both are different from what you are. Okay. The very notion, that's why Swami Vivekananda in various places. So the moment you have this as a firm ground, then you will never feel that you are a Durbala. Okay? So that is where it really helps you. And it actually tells you that you are, okay? So there is nothing like Durbala, there is nothing like Hina Sadhana. You have to really recognize the potential of not this entity, but the potential of the self which is actually driving all these instruments that we are blessed with. Okay, so that is where we need to understand what I am. So that is what is going to help. And Vedanta tells you that you are an embodiment of limitless happiness. But then why am I not experiencing? So is it bluffing? Like our advertisement, if you take this, then immediately somebody applies, then he suddenly gets relieved of it. So that is not the case. I am just telling you. That is not the case. In fact, even Swamiji was asking. So Vedanta says that you are an embodiment of knowledge, etc. etc. What is it referring to? If that were not so, see, if mukti that is being talked about in Vedanta is not that, see, I'll tell you, this is very simple. Just let us do the simple experiment. Suppose I like something, okay? So let us say some dearest sweet, maybe Vandali, Rasagulla, whatever. So let us assume, okay? Now, if Rasagulla is being served, so if it is limited, maybe one or two, then there could be some problem. I am not getting the third, you may be disturbed. Okay? Assume that it is unlimited, you can just take whatever you want. Now you have some sukha. If it is limited, then that limitation made you unhappy. Assume that it is unlimited and I have enough sukha. Now this sukha that you are experiencing, how long does it last? Okay? How long does it last? Now is this Atma Sukha or Vishaya Janita Sukha? This is what Vedanta tries to ask you this question. Is the Sukha that is really coming from there, or is it something which is internal phenomenon? Then they analyze and then they say, this Sukha is essentially something which has to do with your own self only, nature of your own self, and not something external. Then why am I not happy? Only when I get I am happy, right? So there they say, see, the analysis is, when you have a craving for something, that craving is what prevented you from experiencing the thing that you wanted, and in the measure that you wanted, that craving momentarily stopped. So that reveals the nature of yourself. And then what happened after? Some other craving came. Okay? So this is what the real analysis is. Okay? So you are already a Mukta Purusha. Okay? You consider yourself as a Badra Purusha. This is a great news that Vedanta has to tell me. Now, so what I would recommend is, okay, so take a chance and spend some time trying to analyze what has been stated in the scripture, what Vivekananda says, fascination. Okay, I am not joking. So for that you need to do some efforts. So for you to do master in Python programming, let us say. So how long should you struggle? Okay. So I mean everybody has to put some effort. Okay. So how much of effort are we trying to put in trying to understand what is being stated in the larger framework? That is where we have various people to help us in trying to understand the framework of the entire thing. Okay. So in every discipline, what does Vedanta say? You are samasta upadhyanavachinna ananta ananda chaitanyeka rasam advitiyam brahma. Upadhibhi anavachinna means we always feel that we are limited in various aspects. In fact, nothing can actually limit you. Okay, the I that you have, okay, the Chaitanya Swarupa. So he is something which is unlimited by all things. Upadhibhihi anavachinna. Okay. So whether you have a long nose or a short nose, whether you are having some, what is that they do? They go in sunlight and then they take some bath, no? Tanning, okay. See, whether you have this color or that color, I mean, it is all same. It is only you try to associate that I have to look like this. Who cares? So it is ultimately this. So this upadhibihi avachinnaha is all some upadhi which is associated for a shorter time. As simple as that. So that's why Vedanta tells you that you should consider your association with the Sharira itself like staying in a guest house. So the Sharira is a guest house. So you stay and then you go in a larger time framework, that's all. So what happens in the guest house, you don't bother. Okay? So this is how we have to take Anavachinnaha Ananta Ananda Chaitanyika Rasam. So that is how the nature of Atman is described. And therefore there is no question of Durbala or Hina Sadhana, etc. coming. The third thing is Hritaswam. This Hritaswam, in the case of Dhritarashtra, Hrita means already snatched away. So this fellow's thing is not snatched away. When Vidura is summoned, it is still in his possession. But then what is his worry? Harishyamana. Tomorrow if we lose the war, it is not going to be with me. But he is not more worried about it is not going to be with him anyway, he is too old and he is going to pass away. But then his attachment towards Duryodhana, etc. See, that is what happens. So that it has to be with him. Okay? That is where the problem is. And lamenting over the loss of property. Okay? So the despair, anger, frustration, all of them are an outcome of that. See, once it happens. And of course, loss of sleep, not only that, loss of appetite, motivation, thinking ability, health, and maybe even life. Okay? So some people I know. So this Swatvam, they have so much of attachment with their business. And then if something did not turn out, they go and finish themselves. So this happens to that extent. Okay? It did not work the way. Kritaswam, it is gone. So this fellow tries to finish himself. So this is all completely foolishness. See, in fact, there is a beautiful saying. So in Ramayana, Yeti jivantam anandaha naram varshashatadapi. I mean, this is the principle that has to be driven. Varshashatadapi means you have to think, if at all you want to have ananda, you have to first of all be associated with this. How do you know that tomorrow is going to be like this? See, Chakravat parivartante dukkhani ja sukhani cha. Nobody is eternally happy, nobody is eternally damned to be sorrowful. Right? So this is something. Now, there is a beautiful passage in Mundaka Upanishad, Shankaracharya, he says, Samane vrikshe purusho nimagnaha anishaya shochati muhyamanaha. This is Mundaka. And Bhagavad Pada here he says, so nakasyajit samarthoham. Many people feel I am useless. Okay. Nakasyajit samarthoham putro me vinashtaha mrita me bharya. My wife is gone, my son is gone. Kim me jivitena. What do I do by living? Ityevam dina bhavaha anisha. This kind of bhavana is anisha, and this is not something which is worthy of having. Okay? Dina bhavaha anisha. So santapyate muhyamana. So chintam apadyamana. So what do we do? So Vedanta, how does it tell you? Let us analyze for a moment. When we say this belongs to me, that belongs to me, if you just think, we did not bring us with us anything. Okay? We just were assumed that the birth is a lump of flesh coming out of another lump of flesh. Okay? But that is not actually, I'm just telling you, in modern conception, birth means some lump of thing coming out of another thing. So in Vedanta it is not that, I was just telling you. So it is association of some Chaitanya, it is not necessarily at this level, it is, there are Prathaman Janma, Dvitiyan Janma, Tritiyan Janma, it is spoken of in Upanishads. Okay? 3-4 levels of birth. So this is another interesting thing. Now at a Vyavaharika level, okay, if you just think, seriously think, there is nothing on which we can really claim ownership. Everything is given to us, given to me, entrusted to me for a certain period of time, as simple as that. Now during that period of time there is a norm which has been created by a certain society at a certain point of time that you will be able to distribute it the way you like. That is all. Swatvam essentially means that I have the right to distribute this thing as I like for a certain period of time at a certain location. If the norms change, then that is everything is going to be changed. So the Swatvam that we associate with anything for that matter is only this, nothing beyond that. Then this Hritaswam at the Vyavaharika level, if you are not the owner of anything, then why are you really bothering? That possessiveness is something which has to be snapped off with a certain clear understanding. This is one aspect. At a Paramarthika level, okay, Vedanta says, this is only some superimposition of them with other things. Okay. Now, this verse tells you that this swam and other thing, if you just see, is a very beautiful thing. So there are some people who just say that I cannot live without you. Then in these few months I cannot live with you. This happens. This is all just a short period of time. So everybody knows this. Okay? It can be various relationships. And that keeps changing also. In fact, somebody told me this is an incident which is good to know. So I was traveling from Nepal to India. One fat fellow sat near me. He just picked up conversation. This is some border, from Buddhist temple to this UP Nepal border. I am traveling in a short flight, 45-minute flight. So he sat near me. And then he said, where are you going? So I said, I am going to this village. So then he said, you seem to be a Brahmin, how can you go to that village? Okay, this is another, I will leave that part. Then I explained certain things. I mean, this is a notion that has been created as if, we cannot do various things. Then the second aspect is, he said, so I am traveling from this Buddhist temple. Then I said, you seem to be a foreigner, how are you associated with this? So then he told me, no, I am not interested, but my wife is interested, therefore I am doing it. Then he showed the wife, he may be in 50s. But then I just looked at people, she showed he is there, she is there. So then I was just dancing, then I turned, are you worrying, are you really thinking that how I have this kind of a wife? He was very, very young. Then he said, no, I found one thing. The South Asians and Asians seem to be more loyal. I am a German fellow. Okay? So why am I saying is, so he had Swatvam with someone, but then that Swatvam, so that person wanted to have all his Swatvam. What he said was, whatever I had as Swam, she wanted to have, and therefore she took that, and there is no loyalty, nothing, but I find here, people are more loyal, etc., etc. That is how I chose some Thailand girl. So this is what he was just saying. Now this Swatvam, I am just saying, this Hrita Swam. So he had a feeling that this is Hrita Swam, and this Swam is something which, if you are able to see at a much larger level, whether something comes or goes, we will be able to maintain a certain equanimity in our mind. So by virtue of some good deeds, something got accumulated with me, and if I do some good deeds, then that is something which is going to be eternal with me, and that is what is in synchronous with what the Shruti says, Punyo vai punyena karmana bhavati, all luck will favor you, and if you do something wrong, I'll just tell you one simple example how Ishvara can help with this luck. For the first time when I went to Mexico, there are several instances, many of you will be able to relate, but just example. So I went to Mexico, and then first time I'm traveling, 22 years back. So somebody said Mexico is all language is Spanish and you will not be able to even go to shop, take anything. So you carry all that for 1 week with you. Okay, for a 5-day conference. I just took one full suitcase, okay, of snacks, sweets, etc. Another small suitcase with some. So when I landed in the third leg, so San Francisco only, that was the first time when I came. And then what happened was this suitcase which had all the eatables, it did not come in the belt. Okay. I was really not knowing what to do. I was just looking at various people. I tried to speak in English. Many of the people did not even respond. Then fortunately one fellow came and then said, you seem to be deeply thinking about something, tell me what. Yeah, I said, this is what has happened. He said, you go to that counter. And I told him, this is the purpose I come for. Another problem was, the other side, when I saw, mercilessly any eatable is being thrown by the customs. Okay? Someone was arguing this is a packed food, etc., etc. Nothing will be allowed, you have to trash everything. This is what he was saying. Then I was worried, so if I get also it is a problem, if I don't get also it is a problem. Right? So I did not know what to do. Then this is where the grace comes, I am telling you. The fellow guided and he disappeared. He also told me one thing. He said that you should go to the counter and then tell that you have come for this conference and the conference material is there in the bag and it is most essential for you to present it in the conference. This is what he told and then he went. So I went and faithfully I said, this is what it is, see my conference invitation letter. So then that lady said, this bag is left in San Francisco. Tomorrow there is a flight at 6 o'clock. That will come here by 7:30. The bag will be delivered in the hotel by 8:30. Okay, so this is how Bhayakat Bhayanasana. You have to understand. There are various instances we will be able to relate in our life. But one thing which I tell you is, this is something which is extremely important. Okay? From the viewpoint of Vedanta. So this is what the verse basically says, the Shloki. I will just finish in 5 minutes. So Kaminam is the next aspect. So Kaminam is basically craving. See, there is a certain strong binding which really makes us. See, for instance, in the case of Dhritarashtra, he wanted this kingdom to be possessed by Duryodhana. Okay, this was the karma for him. Okay, and at any cost. So this is where the problem was. Okay, and the consequence is he overlooked. Okay, so various ethical contexts and so on and so forth. This is what happens, and this illegitimate desire, such as fulfillment of lust, etc., etc. I mean, some people at a much lower level, they do this. And if something is not working for them, then they become terribly impatient. Okay, this we have seen. And it leads to greed, anger, jealousy and various kinds of problems. And of course, obviously, it leads to insomnia. And how do they try to handle this? They get into some sort of a stimulants and so on and so forth. This is another kind of a chakra into which they fall, out of which they cannot come out. So once this karma is so deep, then you are unable to escape out of it. Okay? So the way to handle is, Vedanta tells you that this karma is something which is going to be endless. And in fact there is a beautiful verse, Najatu kamah kamanam upabhogena shamyati havisha krishna vartmeva bhuyayeva abhivardhate. See, so you may think that by fulfilling karma you will be able to put an end to the karma, but that is not the case. It is just like doing ahuti unto a fire. It is only going to burn much more. See, Havisha Krishna Vartva means fire. So if you offer something unto the fire, then it is only going to ask for more and more and more. It is not that it is going to be putting a full stop to that. So therefore one needs to understand, okay, so from the viewpoint of Vedanta, so this karma leads to karma. This is a much larger thing. I am just telling you, karma leads to karma. See, without karma nobody is going to do any activity. Okay? It may be different kinds of karmas. Okay? So if we have a sarangi player, he wants to so do play sarangi because he wants to get mastery in that. See, there is a certain karma, so that leads to karma. Okay? And karma in fact leads to janma, and the dukkha is just going to be endless. Last aspect is chora. So this is a very interesting thing. Normally many of us do not even think of, we cannot even dream of doing this normal chaurya, thief, etc. That is not what is meant here. And of course there are various kinds of stealing that can happen, blackmailing, embezzling and so on and so forth. But then Vedanta also talks of another kind of this chaurya. Okay? In fact, stena eva saha, it is there, Bhagavad Gita. Ishtan bhogan hivo devaha dasyante yajna bhavitaha tair dattan apradayibhyaha yo bhunte stena eva saha. This is something very interesting philosophy. So everything is sort of given to you and you think that the nature is brute and stupid, which is not the case. Okay, so this connection has to be understood by us properly, and if you do not recognize and respect it back, then yo bhumte, the one who simply consumes and does not contribute, is simply a chora. Yo bhumte tena eva saha. It is emphatically saying, I don't have time to elaborate on that, but this is a very, very important philosophy. Anywhere, is enjoyment the goal of life? Were it so, it would be a tremendous mistake to become a man at all. See, so what does this mean? So this Chaitanya can associate with self with any Sharira. You understand? So that is what birth is. Okay? So that's what he means by saying it is a tremendous mistake to become a man at all. Go to Menagiri and see the wild animals tearing the flesh and the bone. Go back and become a bird. What a mistake then to become a man. Vain to have been my years. Okay? Hundreds of years of struggle only to become the man of self-enjoyments. So, ahara nidra bhaya maitsunancha. If that is what is the life, then there is no difference between donkey and a monkey and me. Okay? So, this is there, ahara nidra bhaya maitsuna, it is there for every being. So, that's what he wants to say. What then is this? Okay? It is this seeking for freedom. Okay? So, trying to, that is what this entire yoga is, chitta vritti nirodha. So, if you just see, there is a beautiful thread between various shastras that we have. See, so, jnanadeva tu kaivalyam. Okay? It is only with this understanding, so which can go to the highest level in this form of association. Therefore, we need to step up. Okay? Rather than completely sink ourselves in the mundane things. So that is our life. One universal cry for freedom. This is what Upanishad again think beyond what other creatures can think. Okay? They also want shelter, they also want some security, they also want some food, they also want to have some relation. We cannot confine. And this last verse is Yonyatha santam atmanam. This is a beautiful verse. Amazing. See, the scriptures describe Atman to be different. So I was just trying to explain to you in simple words how you can see yourself different in this body and so on. So this Atman being different from this mind-body sense complex, if you try to associate with all the features of the mind-body sense complex, then you develop all kinds of complexes. Be it superiority, be it inferiority. Okay? So this mind is possessed with a certain faculty, that mind is not possessed with a certain faculty. You consider that fellow to be inferior, you consider this fellow to be superior, etc. These are all something which has to do with the activity of a certain organ at a given point of time. This we have to very clearly understand. You may be a supreme Pandita, but suddenly some stroke will come, nothing will come to your mind. So we all have seen this, right? So this is a small trigger somewhere, so can completely change the nature of the person. And therefore, but this notion of I which is continuously running through should be segregated now. Now, given this Atman is something which is free from any of these limitations, is what Shastra keeps claiming. And we keep claiming, no, it is all associated with that. Without our knowledge, we keep associating and thereby developing various kinds of notions. Therefore, he says, Yonyatha santam atmanam anyatha pratipadyate. See, the chora is someone, okay? So, something which is to be associated in some form with someone, he is being taken away to someone else, right? This is what he does. And every one of us is a chora, he says. Okay? Because we have snatched away the true nature of Atman from that and we have done something else. Okay? Kim tena nakritam papam. Okay? So it is described as a great papa that we can do. See, that is what Vivekananda tried to proclaim from the rooftops everywhere. In the most powerful way that he wanted to convey. Okay? So if you want to get good sleep, then there must be some sukrutam. Okay? I must tell you, I have seen people, you can't believe. So in IIT Bombay, these fellows, a huge truck, tar road, okay. So he just goes under the chassis and happily sleeps. You would have seen, I'm not joking. Fellows who drive this truck, they just go under the chassis and then they sleep. On the other hand, there will be so many rickshaw valas even in Belur Mat. I mean, around that I have seen. Happily they sleep, 42 degrees, maybe the temperature outside. Okay, he just sleeps and then sun may be shining, etc. etc. On the other hand, there are people, I booked for one person in 5-star hotel in Halarbet. That lady came late in the night. Next day morning I said, was it fine? No, I had a sleepless night, she said. Then I said, what? So they said, there was some noise outside, some auto noise was there. And therefore I could not get sleep. See, look at this fellow who is happily sleeping, 45 degrees outside in a rickshaw. On the other hand, you have a 5-star hotel with all the kind of shields. Okay? So if you have to have some good sleep, you should have done some sukrita. Okay, number one. Number two, sukrita means punyam. Okay? So if I have no other choice but to follow the path of dharma. Otherwise, what happens is, I have seen these people also in my own relative who did lot of adharma. See, tried to cheat the other family member. And then when he came to this deathbed, myself and my mother went. He was completely in tears. So weeping, unable to express, see, the kind of harm that he has done, it comes to his mind. See, in spite of that, these people came to see me, is the kind of feeling. You understand? So the kind of wrong things that you have done, see, you may try to hide it from others, but you cannot hide it from your own self. So this actually pierces you like a spear, okay, at some point in life. Therefore, it is very important for us to follow dharma, and that is why we say punyogi punyena karmana bhavati papa pavena. So it is a natural choice out of understanding of reality that Vedanta teaches us. Okay, so the following the path of dharma, I am just saying, it would be a natural choice, provided you have that kind of an understanding. Okay, come what may, I will not do this. That is the kind of strong feeling that you will get. And the vision of Vedanta is not a mere moral teaching. It permanently removes the root cause for all sufferings. Okay, so therefore, by trying to get on to Vedanta, we can wake up to the reality instead of waking up in the middle of the night. Okay, thank you.
Do you have any question?
I have already exceeded time.
No problem. No problem. Please come forward. Question if you have.
So, I was wondering, it was told that when you grow older, someone grows up like from kid to the middle age and then older, your sleep is supposed to be reduced, like by a couple of hours. And if it's not happening, then what should we like?
No. See, the important thing for us to understand is, it's not the duration which matters, it is the quality that matters. So for the quality to be good, see, so then mind has to be in a certain state. So otherwise what happens is, I have seen in my own family, so as you grow older, so there is nothing which you can think of or engage with. Then you again and again you go and then you come back. So there is no good quality sleep at all. So you just keep wasting a lot of time. And one of the ways that is being recommended, even by modern neurologists, is to just see to it that you will be able to sort of challenge your mind if you are not able to arrest the thoughts. What I mean by challenge is to try to learn something new which you have not been able to understand or follow, but then engage. In fact, the father of neuroscience in India called B. Ramurthy. So when I met him when he was almost 85 plus, in some occasion, he said, see, now I am reading this astronomy. So astronomy has nothing to do with neuroscience. But then he said, it is the way, as we understand today, is to keep the mind agile and make it little challenging. But what normally we people do is, we just try to be at the lower state and make it allowed to go to much more lower state without trying to engage it. So here, this kind of deep philosophical issues that we have to just keep contemplating on it and try to connect with various other things. That will really, really help us. Okay? So this, and an avarti of something is all the more important. See, there is something called manaha, there is something called buddhi. It is the buddhi which actually controls the mind. Okay? So that anyway is a much deeper discussion. But I just want to tell you that what it matters, whether it is short, long. Of course, when we are very young, it is very natural that we have long hours. But then, one will be able to easily overcome this. Okay? Trigger the buddhi to trigger the mind in the right direction. So then the
slightly off the topic. You mentioned about Kachit Sarga in Ramayana. Could you please elaborate more?
Okay. So when Rama was in forest, this Bharata comes to meet Rama. Okay. When Bharata comes to meet Rama, Rama puts maybe almost 100 questions to him. Something close to that it may be. But all of them will start with this Kachit. Kachit is different from Kaschit. In Sanskrit, Kaschit means someone, but it is Kachit. In fact, in Meghaduta, last but one verse starts with Kachit Somya Vyavasitamidam. Okay? So, wherever this word Kachit is employed, you are not actually asking what your state is. So, you are trying to ask a question where you desire that he is in that state. You understand? So, then you use the word Kachit. Okay? Kama pravedani. I wish that you were in this state, whether this is happening. In order to convey that, you use the word Kachit. That is the difference. So, in fact, Kalidasa, when he asked this Megha, oh Megha, have you decided that you are going to go and convey my message to him? Which means there is an intention on his part that it has to be conveyed. Okay? So, your intentionality that is to be there in him is what your wish is. So, how are you, suppose you are asking? Then you should, if you are asking this, then it is just asking his state. Okay? But if you want to ask, see that I wish that you were there, if that is to be conveyed, then you have to phrase your question with Kachit. That is the distinction. Yes.
So sometimes, so this is again sleep related.
Yes.
So sometimes at the night you are not exactly in these categories, but you are very excited about something. Like your mind is just turning through some interesting idea or something that you want to do. And I cannot take out my mind out of that and actually go to sleep. That way I can be productive tomorrow.
Yes.
But you are continuously thinking, I will implement this, that. It's like fully into that mode and I cannot take it out of that.
So there is, see, if you are sort of engaged, in fact I have seen my own father. So even at the age of 50, he suddenly decided that he will go and take some exams. Okay. So he decided, but then even at that age, so if you decide that you have to necessarily perform well in the examination and you are able to engage in some productive activity, then it is perfectly fine, if you can manage. So you will, whole night you can study and you can do well, it is possible. Okay. For some people, unless you sleep for 8 hours, nothing is possible, that is also there. I have seen my own colleague. So this is also there. So now the issue is, whether it is completely out of your control and you fall prey to that thought, or you are able to drive it in a particular direction for achieving a certain end. This is what makes the difference. If that is the case, then it is fine. In the other case, that is where the problem is. I want it to go to sleep, but it doesn't obey me.
I have a question. Maybe something similar, but I get really productive at night. Like if I'm awake till 3 or 4 a.m., think about drinking water or eating food. But when I wake up in the morning, I feel like I have to do so many things. It's very difficult to be productive. But I also feel like it's bad for my body in the long run.
Yeah,
No.
basically it's the same thing. You are
No, I'll tell
framed
you.
it nicely.
See, this is a question of training this body. That is all I will just say. So, it needs a certain kind of rest. So, that is what, whether it is Yoga Sutra or Bhagavad Gita or Vedanta. Okay? So, or modern psychology, neuroscience. So, it needs a certain period of rest. But then, that actually varies from individual to individual. So, it may be slightly varying to 4 hours to 6 hours. But then beyond that, I don't think it is necessary. But maybe, these studies say that, it is necessary, etc., but I don't know. Okay? I will not be able to say categorically. But normal people who have been highly productive, they have a certain cycle. I have seen this. And whether it is this period or that period, one will not be able to say. Some people they may go. But general recommendation as per our scriptures is, so it could be based on certain other things. Say today we have all night, etc., etc. This recommendation is, so you go by around 10 and you get up at 4. Okay? So this is what is the general recommendation. But if it can be little stretched here and then little stretched there, but as long as it is sort of uniform, I don't think there should be any issue with that. Okay? So, but when you get up, I am not able to be very energetic, etc. That I don't know. Okay? So that you have to find a way. But that should be possible. So if you are really at it, I have spent several times. Okay? Just hardly 2 hours, 3 hours, because some preparation has to be done. But then I don't really feel, really tired or anything of that sort. Okay? Even this trip, today I was teaching for 5 hours there, and there is no problem, because you are able to engage yourself in a certain activity which gives you pleasure. Okay? So you are able to engage with a certain jnana, not other worldly worries. That is what really finishes you. So in fact, in Bhagavad Gita we have this phrase, Nahi jnanena sadrisham pavitra miha vidyate. A very beautiful phrase. There is nothing in this world which can be purifying you as jnana. Jnanena sadrisham pavitram iha na vidyate. Pavitram means not physical purity, it is this purity. Okay? So this is a very, very important phrase. So as long as it is engaged in that, I have seen, I'll tell you, there is one person. This is all amazing for us to believe. So he actually came from Kashi and we engaged him for a proofreading of Veda texts. This is about 25 years ago. This man was spending almost 1.5 months or so with us, and he expected the work to be finished. But then it did not get finished, and next week he has committed to something else. 1 week was remaining, and there was a lot of portion, almost 20% was remaining. So he announced this to us. So till this work is over, I am not going to eat. I am not joking. Okay? And he worked in such an amazing way for almost a week. And the last day at 7 o'clock he has to catch a flight. And I was sitting with him the whole night. And at around 2 or so he starts writing the preface. Writes for about 25-30 pages. Finishes at 4:30. Then goes to bath. And then leaves at 5. Okay? It's not joke. I have seen this. So there is something which we are not able to explain by simply this neurological and biological basis. Okay? So there are some things which are really beyond our comprehension today, how it works, etc. So that is what I think we have this phrase called prasada, grace, and so on and so forth. So, so there is no way by which we can dismiss these things. But with the given tools, we are not able to prove certain things. Okay, so that is where we have to just admit our limitation. Okay, and the kind of powers that can be achieved by controlling this is what we see in people like Vivekananda and these other people. So this is all the more powerful, but we should be able to tame it the way we want.
Question I had was, I guess in the first example that you had given related to Tidiksha and what Rama mentioned.
Yes.
I suppose one of the dilemmas I have generally with that is whether such a view, it is a previous life karma, leads to more like a fait accompli.
No.
And,
I'll tell you. The difference I'll tell you. It is only with the reference to something which is affecting you, you should take that view. If someone is suffering on the road, then it is his karma, we cannot do it. We have to immediately pitch there and then go and try to find. So when we are trying to deal with certain things which are affecting, for which we cannot find remedial measure, and there is a certain other binding of dharma which, then this is the kind of view that we need to take. So here, let us take this simple thing. Now Rama could have been cursing Kausalya 1,000 times. Okay? But what is he going to gain? So on the other hand, if you just take this view, that maybe it is my, then you don't try to develop any hatred towards anybody. Any dislike of any form will not be there. And it will not turn into various other factors also. Okay? So you express, it just bounces back and it goes endless. Okay? So this is what I'll just tell you one simple example which my mother told me, that she had observed her grandmother, okay, paternal grandmother, and he was a short-tempered person apparently, she told. And when this man starts raising his voice, that lady will immediately go to kitchen and then start some stotra. Okay, so the second mouth will not open. So that's where this Tidiksha comes. Okay, sahanam dukkhana apratikara purvakam, chinta vilapa rahitam. That is also very important. Okay, just because you take, then this should not be just bothering you with chinta inside. So if you just take this as the solution, then the chinta is gone. As you sow, so you reap. That is the feeling. It could have been better, but it is not better. Okay. So chinta, you can try to change, but once you realize that it is not going to change, then you have to just accept, accommodate it. And the way you can easily accommodate is by choosing this principle, okay, which has been beautifully laid down in our Upanishads. Okay. So both from pragmatic viewpoint, psychological viewpoint, see, this is something which is going to be extremely useful. Okay. And there are other compulsions also today, I can tell you, that we will not be able to explain through science. And we have necessarily resort to. How can science explain that two twins born to the same couple at the same time? Well, neither astrology can explain. Okay. So it is only this Purva Samskara that you have to bring in. Okay, at 4, somebody knows some 450 ragas, how does he know? So no joke. So these are all things which have to do with certain other things, which anyway science invents. Nobody thought of. So did anybody think of black hole? Okay, some black energy. So who thought of this? At various points of time you undergo some problem and then you try to invent some tool by which you try to understand at that moment. right? Something else may change tomorrow. So this, the larger understanding, see, I was even recently knowing that, see, this earth spins, what is the rate at which it spins? So we can say that it is some 365 point something revolution in 1 year's time, right? But was it the same? No. At one point it was 420 days per year. Okay? There is nothing which is stationary. So 420 days per year means, there is, if we define some period based on something else, and within this something is happening. So there are various phenomena that keep continuously changing that we need to understand. So at a given point of time, so the limitations of science have to be understood, but that doesn't mean that you should not persuade science. Okay? So this is a human inquiry. And there are certain things which are laid down here, which are extremely useful, which seems to be quite logical if you just go by. And by adopting which, I think there can be a lot of inner peace. They say, no, Om Shanti, 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 right? So that is what ultimately is sought after by a human being, okay, not any other thing. So embracing some philosophy, if it can bring you Shanti, what is wrong with that? Rather than getting perturbed and then keep boiling, jumping up and down. That lady should have been shouting. But then she started, oh Ishvara, you help me, that is all. You start. For that you have to memorize shlokas. See, incidentally, if you have memorized shlokas, no, I am just telling you, this is something which is very important. If you have memorized shlokas, you can easily engage your mind. See, so even if you have to stand for a long time in US immigration, okay, you need not be cursing the whole world. You can just keep recalling the shloka. If it does not come, open your iPad and then. Okay, so this is a fantastic mechanism by which you will be able to tame your mind, okay, without unnecessarily getting disturbed by various thoughts. So this is all so well thought out and well designed. So we cannot just undermine them. See? That is what various Purana stories also help us in trying to understand the gist. Okay, I think it is time. Namaste. Thank you so much. Swamiji.
Thank you very much for this wonderful practical deliberation. And in this context, I can remember one thing, what revered Swami Ranganathanandaji told us. We heard from his own mouth when he joined in the order in Mysore, and he told that he used to memorize the whole chapter of Bhagavad Gita, and unless he memorized the whole chapter of Bhagavad Gita, he did not take food. And every day, it is actually we did memorize one verse in one day. That was our task. When we were brahmachari, that was our task. One verse, one day. But Ranganathanandaji, one chapter, one day. Can you imagine? One chapter, one day. And he did not eat till he memorized that. He memorized Bhagavad Gita. A challenge was there. The challenge was this. He requested the Secretary Swami there that I want to be a monk. Oh, you want to be a monk? Okay. Memorize Swami Vivekananda's poem. He started memorizing Swami Vivekananda's poem. Finished it. Then started Bhagavad Gita, do Bhagavad Gita. He started because his pressure was there that as soon as he could memorize Bhagavad Gita, he would be the monk of the Ramakrishna order. Then the Swami told, okay, memorize Upanishads. So in this way, he memorized Bhagavad Gita, Upanishad, everything. It's amazing. Just imagine. Thank you very much, Professor, for this beautiful practical and philosophical deliberation. As an expression of our gratitude, thanks and joy, please accept this small gift as a token of appreciation and joy. And as usual, the prasad will be delivered here. Please be seated. Our volunteer will deliver prasad here.